The movie opens with Nicky swaggering out of a fancy house, his self-assured demeanor exuding charm and confidence. He strolls through the evening streets, regaling himself with tales of conquests and his prowess with women. Nicky is a confident guy who charms and uses women to get what he wants, living a life full of lies and luxury without caring about the consequences. Tonight he visits a nightclub where he usually finds his prey and starts encountering familiar faces. Amidst the pulsing music and swirling bodies, a mature woman catches his eye as she exits the club. Nicky is tired of chasing young women and needs to change his game. Samantha, as she introduces herself, initially meets Nicky's advances in a cool manner. Nicky, who is very confident that his charm can bring her around any time, continues to talk to her. When he asks about her relationship status, Samantha admits to having neither a husband nor a lover. Seizing the moment, Nicky leans in, his lips meeting hers in a bold move that surprises and intrigues Samantha. In that instant, her hesitation dissolves, replaced by a newfound interest in taking Nicky home with her. That night, Nicky heads home with Samantha, and they get intimate. In the morning, Samantha leaves for work, but Nicky pretends to be asleep, and Samantha leaves him at her house. But this is all part of Nicky's plan, and now he has a place to stay. You see, Nicky doesn't even have a real place to stay, and he lives with his friend Harry. Nicky continues to woo her by making her think he cares for her. He cooks her dinner and gives her the best time of her life. Nicky has a list of things required to make a woman trust him, which is sorted in a point system.
1 for flowers, 2 for dinner, 3 for an orgasm. You need 26 points for them to trust you, and then you can go back to watching football.
Samantha and Nicky soon get into a relationship, which revolves around physical intimacy with no strings attached. Nicky finds himself enjoying Samantha's luxurious mansion, complete with a swimming pool, just as he has envisioned. Despite his lack of a job, Nicky skillfully deflects Samantha's questions by showering her with affection whenever the topic arises. Samantha takes Nicky shopping and buys him all the stuff he desires. He gets to drive her luxurious car and gets to enjoy the exotic life brought by Samantha's hard-earned money. She even takes him to dinner when she is meeting with her friends. As their relationship progresses, Samantha informs Nicky of her upcoming trip to New York and asks him if he can go with her. Sensing an opportunity to have the house for himself, he refuses to go with her. After a brief sulking act, he asks her if he can stay at her house while she is away. Samantha allows him to stay and leaves for New York. With Samantha gone, Nicky is now left with a huge house and his desires only. Just like a teenager whose parents are out of town, Nicky throws a party at Samantha's place and invites everyone he knows, including his friend Harry. Nicky doesn't stop there and gets intimate with one of the girls at the party on Samantha's bed. Samantha has no idea what is happening in her house. Nicky finally picks one of Samantha's many calls while having fun at the pool. She immediately starts to question whether he's really at the home. When he answers that he is, she continues to ask why he didn't pick up earlier. He calmly replies that he had no idea she called him and continues the conversation. She then tells him that she will be coming in 3 days with some friends and hangs up the phone. That night, Nicky invites his ex Emily to Samantha's house. He tells her that he has missed her for a while, but she doesn't believe him at all. Instead, she tells him frankly that he only wants her for sex. He denies this and skillfully changes the subject to an intimate one, and they start to get all over each other. The next day, Nicky brings another girl named Christina home and gets intimate with her too. But that night, Samantha returns from her trip unexpectedly and enters her house without making any noise. She walks in and is shocked by what she sees. Nicky is with another woman on the couch upstairs. Christina covers herself in shock and leaves the house, leaving them behind. Samantha already knows about the party as her maid has told her, and she is mad at Nicky for being so irresponsible. The two then get into an argument for a little while before they agree on becoming friends with benefits, where she gets to make love with him while he gets shelter from her, and they become intimate again. A few days later, Nicky decides to grab a coffee at a nearby cafe. As he waits for his order, his eyes fixate on a striking waitress who exudes an air of aloofness. Confident in his charm, Nicky initiates his usual approach, expecting a positive response. However, to his surprise, the waitress remains cool and distant, unaffected by his attempts at flirtation. Undeterred by her initial coldness, Nicky presses on and asks for her name. With an indifferent tone, she reveals, Heather, before bluntly instructing him to only summon her for coffee-related matters. He constantly asks for her number, but she refuses to give it to him. She then asks him to write his number on a paper and tells him she might call him. She only does this so he can stop the nagging. Nicky then writes his number on the paper but leaves without paying for the service he got, leaving Heather to follow him to Samantha's home. When Heather finds Nicky at Samantha's place, she is very angry at him for making her chase the money, and she leaves immediately after taking her money. For Nicky, who is accustomed to effortless charm and success with women, Heather's indifference leaves him feeling unsettled and intrigued. Nicky then asks his friend Harry to help him get Heather interested. Harry agrees to help him. Nicky acts as if he is a successful business owner and Harry his partner, but Heather, being the quick wit she is, doesn't fall for the drama. But later, she sees him dancing with the parking officer when he gets his ticket and gets interested in him. She then decides to give it a shot and tells him that she will give him one date. Nicky, who is all excited about his date with Heather, keeps ignoring Samantha and gets lost in his thoughts even when they are getting intimate. Nicky then meets with Harry at his house and makes fun of his African bullfrog. This angers Harry, and he kicks Nicky out of his house. However, this doesn't bother Nicky as he is staying at Samantha's house. Later, Nicky calls Heather and asks her to go out with him tonight. She agrees, and they meet at a restaurant. But after only spending a few minutes together, Heather gets a phone call and leaves immediately, leaving Nicky alone. Meanwhile, Samantha is getting worried because it has been many days since she and Nicky have had the passionate moments they used to share. She asks him if he is having an affair, but he tells her no. One night, Nicky gets a text from Heather telling him she is inside Samantha's house. He is angry at Heather for leaving him like that on their date, but when she tells him that her brother has serious health issues, he finally understands why she left him that night.
He has MS. He's 17 and incontinent.
Nicky and Heather then talk for a while, and she tells him she is single. Then, they share an intimate moment and spend the night together at Samantha's place. In the morning, Nicky is gathering Heather's stuff so that Samantha won't catch them, but when he sees Heather's luxurious car, he is shaken by the realization that it belongs to her boyfriend, contradicting Heather's earlier claim of being single. When confronted, Heather doesn't deny it and tells him that she is a waitress and there is no way she could afford this kind of luxurious car, revealing that she uses rich men to get what she wants, just like he does. Nicky throws her out of Samantha's home. However, Nicky finds himself unable to think of anyone other than Heather, even while he's with Samantha, and his thoughts of her start to make him depressed. Meanwhile, Samantha, thinking Nicky's behavioral change might be because of her aging, gets surgery to return to the good old days. But even after that, Nicky remains the same, if not worse. Samantha has finally had it and tells Nicky to leave her house after a fight. She even slaps him multiple times out of anger, but Nicky hugs her, and all her anger goes away. Samantha then gets ready to prepare lunch for them, but Nicky chooses to leave, seeking clarity away from this messy situation. Samantha, however, asks him to stay, but despite her swift change of heart and desire to reconcile, Nicky remains stubborn in his decision and his desire for Heather, unable to easily give up the powerful hold she has over his thoughts and desires. After leaving Samantha's house, Nicky struggles to find a new place to stay and becomes homeless, as he has run out of money. Nicky then visits Emily's place and tries to use his charm to get into her house, but she is tired of his sugar-coated words and turns her back on him. With Emily rejecting him, he visits Harry at a strip club, but has a huge falling out with him after he fights with Harry's friend, who mistreats a stripper. Nicky tries to get into the nightclub he usually visits, but the guards won't let him in. Nicky then decides to apologize to Harry, but Harry has already given up on Nicky and throws out his stuff, asking him never to return. Nicky then sells the stuff Samantha bought him and rents a motel. Nicky decides he needs to do something about his situation and comes up with a plan. Nicky visits one of the luxurious hotels in town and tries to seduce an older lady. He then runs into Heather, who is staying at the hotel too. She is surprised to see him seducing an older lady, as she thought he was a wealthy man and Samantha's house belonged to him. Nicky talks to Heather and apologizes for throwing her out of the house the way he did. She laughs and tells him
That's strange. Because it seems like you and I are maybe playing the same cards.
she had thought he was wealthy and confesses she lives a similar lifestyle, scamming wealthy individuals for money just as Nicky used to manipulate women. Despite their complicated past, Heather feels some sympathy for Nicky and allows him to move in with her. Once the air clears between them, Nicky and Heather start visiting exclusive bars to find a wealthy person they can use. Nicky finds himself becoming a mentor of sorts to Heather, offering tips on how to manipulate and deceive rich men for financial gain. Initially hesitant, Heather eventually embraces Nicky's guidance and continues her hustling ways. Nicky and Heather are also in a friends with benefits relationship, but Heather is slowly falling in love with Nicky. Then one day, Heather tells Nicky that she broke up with a wealthy person who was a perfect match for her. Nicky gets angry at her decision as he doesn't understand why. She tearfully tells him that she is in love with him. As she continues and pours out her heart, she reveals that the wealthy man owns the prestigious New York Rangers hockey team and has been footing all her bills and expenses, which is why she hasn't been able to progress in her life. Nicky, who couldn't process what happened, suddenly picked up his jacket and left. However, when he finally returns, hoping to find clarity or reconciliation, all he finds is a brief note from Heather stating that she has left for New York City. Nicky is devastated by Heather's departure and becomes depressed. However, Nicky doesn't want to return to his old lifestyle and decides to pursue Heather. He contacts Heather's friend Eva, who urges him not to let Heather slip away and encourages him to follow her to New York. Nicky also makes up with Harry, and Harry gives him money to travel to New York. With Harry's financial help and Eva's advice, Nicky embarks on a journey to find Heather, hoping against hope to mend what he has fractured in their relationship. Arriving in New York, Nicky tracks down Heather to a plush penthouse, a stark contrast to the world he knew in LA. He meets her and pleads with Heather to return with him, pouring out his feelings and dreams of a life together. However, Heather, torn between love and practicality, explains that she can't afford to abandon the financial stability she has with her ex-fiancé's support. Nicky, thinking it is still because of his faulty behavior and desperate to prove his commitment, proposes marriage on the spot. Heather rejects him. He is left with his hopes crushed when she reveals she is already married to her rich ex-fiancé. She explains that divorcing isn't an option for her, as she needs the stability and security her marriage provides, making it clear they won't have a relationship like they once had. Just then, Heather's husband unexpectedly returns home. In a moment of painful dismissal, Heather introduces Nicky as a mere grocery boy, highlighting that she has moved on and crushing him to pieces in that moment. Nicky is devastated, and making him do nothing more than decide to return. Returning to Los Angeles, Nicky undergoes a profound transformation. After making peace with Harry, Nicky is offered a new path to friendship and a place to stay. During one of his routine deliveries, Nicky's route takes him to Samantha's house. As he approaches, he glimpses through the window and sees a young man inside, possibly Samantha's new boyfriend, a blunt reminder of the life he once had with Samantha. The movie ends with a touching scene where Nicky is seen feeding a dead mouse to Harry's African bullfrog. This scene shows how Nicky has completely gotten rid of his old behavior and is ready to continue with the new one. And with that, the movie ends. We hope you enjoyed our video. Watch the next recaps on the screen, and don't forget to subscribe for more amazing recaps. See you in the next one.